Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven. I'm in Seattle, and I do apologize for the lighting here. It is pretty dim and dismal. Thank God this isn't a beauty channel, right? Um, we have chatted a little bit recently about customer service, and I want to continue on that line. Today, I want to focus on attentiveness. I did write some notes down, just some guidelines I want to follow. Attentiveness is everything. You can do nothing. If you can't have customer service if you're not attentive. It doesn't matter if you're patient, if you're loving, if you're whatever. If you're not attentive, then don't bother. So in terms of a customer's experience, not our experience, but theirs, their experience would begin with the flight at the gate or the ticket counter. With us, our experience, our customer service would begin when they board the plane. So first off, my suggestion, and all of these are suggestions. I really don't mean to talk to you, but these are all examples of things I try to practice on a daily basis. I've tried practicing these things since I worked at Neiman Marcus and Saks years ago. So the first part of their customer experience with us starts at boarding. And you want to make sure that you are completely 100% attentive and present when they're boarding the aircraft. Typically, we invite anyone with special needs or small children or difficulty boarding to come on board first, pre-boarding. So you want to be attentive, especially if you're sitting up in front, if you're lead, or if you're, we call it a chaser position, but someone who's also typically up in front or almost mid-cabin sometimes. Those folks are the first face that the guest will see when they come on board. So number one, we want to be attentive. We want to be friendly, smile, welcome them. Hey, how are you? Whatever, quick small talk. But while you're doing that, there's so many things you have to do when you're especially up in front, when you're in lead position. There are things you're doing while you are greeting these people as they come on board. Well, first, you have those people who are pre-boarding. Can they get into the aircraft on their own? They get a wheelchair up to the door of the aircraft. And, if it's someone who's having a difficult time getting out of the wheelchair and they've got two bags, I'm going to go down there and say, hey, may I assist you? How may I assist you? Can I take those bags for you? Or may I lend you my arm? And especially if it's a lady, I love that. May I lend you my arm? And it's a gentlemanly act, and there's always a smile. Oh, thank you very much, and they'll take my arm and I'll help them onto the aircraft. And if I'm lead, I have to stay up in front, but someone else who's working with me can help them back to their seat or carry their bags. So be attentive. Those parents with little kids, you want to be attentive as they come on board. To recognize, is this parent going to need any help? Are these kids going to be a problem? Do they have things to keep them entertained? So just keep an eye on them as they come on board. What did I write down here? Every airline will call them different things. We call them able-bodied assistants, but other airlines will call them some other things. But when guests are coming on board, I'm keeping my eye out for someone in the event of an emergency who can be my assistant. So for an example, in the emergency exit rows, if you've ever been seated in those seats, a flight attendant is going to come over to you and say, hi, these are the responsibilities and obligations we're going to ask you to fulfill in the event of an emergency. And they'll look at the safety information card. Are you guys willing and able to assist in the event of an emergency? And they want a verbal yes, typically. That person, the flight attendant, is briefing people who will become our assistants in the event of an emergency. They're going to open that emergency exit and help people out and call them away from the aircraft. Once we land and all that stuff happens. So we call them able-bodied assistants. There's a certain number of them we need per door, per exit. And so as people are coming on board, I'm looking for that person who's going to be my assistant. They're probably not going to be a parent work with small kids. They're probably not going to be a passenger with an elderly parent, or if someone who's an assistant or a caregiver for someone who's handicapped. So ideally going to look for someone who looks physically able, mentally acute, awake, and physically able without things that are going to stop them or make them pause in the event of an emergency. So pretty specific people, right? So as they're coming on board, I'm being very attentive and I'm looking for these ideal candidates in the event of an emergency. All right, so CRSs, child restraint systems. There's a couple of them that we allow on board. They're all going to have, they look like car seats. They're all going to have a sticker on them that indicates that it's acceptable to be used on the aircraft. I want to, especially as lead, I want to make sure every car seat or CRS has that sticker, that identifier saying that it's okay to use on the aircraft. This is for the child's safety. If it's just this ramshackle thing picked up wherever, in the event of an emergency, I want to make sure that car seat is the right tool to keep that child safe. And so that's something you have to be very attentive about. Looking out for guests who may appear to be intoxicated. Now, I can never tell someone is intoxicated. I can only see evidence of potential inebriation. I'm not a doctor, and certainly so I can't say you're drunk, you're not allowed on board. But if someone appears to be intoxicated, and that will be to a degree that my crew, because I'm going to communicate this, we can talk to each other and say, is this person going to be a liability on board, or a real problem on board? If someone is drunk, really, really drunk, and messy and all that stuff, there's a potential chance that they may not fly with us that night or that day. And you or I have to be very attentive and watch for signs that people are coming on board in enough of a condition that they can be a responsible citizen on board our aircraft. If they're not, if someone is wildly intoxicated, I have to talk to my flight crew, my cabin crew, and potentially our customer service agent about what to do in that case. I want to be also very attentive and make sure I'm watching our guests interact with each other when they get on board. Because if there's a seat duplication, there's a very particular facial expression. You're going to be able to see a seat duplication from 50 feet away. There's body language and facial expressions that come with two people who are supposed to be in the same seat. So you want to be sort of aware of that energy from a distance, so you can either go solve the problem or send one of your coworkers to go look into what's going on down there. Specials or unaccompanied minors that need help. So we talked a little bit about those people who are in like a wheelchair and might need help getting on board and finding their seat. Sometimes a gate agent will have them, will seat them in like row 31, and they can't even get to row 3 without physical assistance. If the aircraft isn't oversold and there are open seats, I want to be attentive, looking where open seats might be, and see if I can't potentially move that person into a seat that's closer to the front, rather than make them do that, run for the gauntlet down the entire aisle of the aircraft. But unaccompanied minors, we call them UMs, are people who are traveling unaccompanied. They're under 15 years old, over 5, under 15, I think, and they're unaccompanied. So we have special paperwork, and they wear a lanyard with an identifier on them. And there are very particular places they sit on the aircraft, and they have a very particular safety demo presentation, and they're taken care of. Those people, the parents or the guardians who have entrusted us with their most precious possession, their children, we want to make sure that that child is 100% taken care of and understood and known every moment from the time they're released to us to the moment that we release them to the parent. Just on this trip, we had 2 excellent children. They were beautifully behaved, well-behaved children. They came, off the aircraft. We passed them off to the customer service agent. Their guardians, their grandparents, were there at the gate waiting for them. And I went over and I said to the grandparents, I have to tell you, these kids were outstanding. They were wonderful on board. I like to do that because I think it really adds a little polish. And if the kids weren't fantastic, I'll say, oh, they were so charismatic. They're wonderful little people, whatever. But the grandparents were going to walk away with the kids without the CSA having checked for their ID, make sure that they were the people who were assigned to pick them up. And also we have to have signatures on certain pieces of paper. So, those grandparents are walking away. The customer service agent is busy with something else. So we all have to work as a team and be attentive to make sure that those children or young adults are being passed off to the right people and everything is dotted and crossed. So being attentive is very important there. And you want to be aware of any potential threats. I've had couples coming on board that were already literally on the verge of fist fights. They were like elbowing each other and yelling at each other. You need to be really attentive to that, attentive to where they're sitting. In this case, this one couple, they were fighting, physically fighting, elbows and pushing, and they were coming on board. And I was sensing they had maybe had a cocktail or two. I wasn't going to kick them off the aircraft because they want to go somewhere, but I knew that the plane was not oversold. I knew I had some open seats throughout the aircraft. And so I allowed them on board. We welcomed them on board, I should say. But rather than have them sit next to each other, I said a couple times, I pointed out the energy they were kind of giving. Would you folks mind if I separated you? Just to make sure that everyone behaves well, everyone's happy, and they were amenable, if not appreciative, to be given space for each other. So you have to be attentive of them coming on board, seeing what seats you have available, and not just going, nope, they're not on my plane, they're going to cause a ruckus. Welcome them on board, but also have like a solution because I'm being attentive. Is that making any sense at all? I hope so. All right, passengers seating in exit rows, moving themselves into exit rows. If you have an aircraft that's wide open, for example, we had a flight on this trip where we had 182 potential guests. We only had 80. We had 100 open seats. Some of them were exit row seats. And, we want to make sure that guests aren't moving into those exit row seats, at least without having been briefed with their responsibilities of, in the event of an emergency, they would have some obligation. There would be some obligation on their part. So I want to make sure that during the flight, I want to be aware of who is sitting in those emergency exit row seats and who is just suddenly found themselves there. So either I'm going to ask them to remove themselves to another seat, or I'm going to really just kind of pick my battle and say, hey, all right, well, if we're going to sit here, I do have a couple things I have to let you know. I'm going to ask you to look at the safety information card, at the exit seat responsibilities and obligations and all that, and then do a little safety demo for them, just to make sure that they understand their obligation, their responsibilities, and the potential of what could happen. Some flight attendants would say, nope, back to your seat. It's up to you. Pick your battles. I try to approach it. I try, because there have been 1 or 2 times I'm like, no, we've already talked about this. But I really try to say, all right, so the seat's open. If you're going to sit here, I do have to talk to you about a couple things. So, compliance. Now, this is a really important part of our job. This is one of the things we have to do before we take off. I want to make sure that we are compliant. All of our guests are compliant. Their tray tables are up in a locked position. Their armrests are down if they're seated in the aisle row. The window shades are open if they're seated in an emergency exit row. Their bags are all the way under the seat in front of them. Their seatbelts are secured nice and low and tight about their hips. What else is compliance? I can't think of anything else, but I want to make sure that the aircraft is completely compliant, not just kinda. When I was on my OE, sometimes it's an IOE with other airlines. When I was with my OE doing compliance, my instructor said, no, it's not compliant. Go back. And I had to look. There were some bags that I thought were in enough. They weren't. And I could tell now, I could tell that they could be pushed in. Backpacks, all right, backpacks, for example. And it's all how you approach it. It's all on how you approach it. But a backpack put under the seat in front of you, lengthwise, north-south, isn't going to fit completely under the seat in front of them. It's going to poke out. And it's going to poke out with straps everywhere. In an emergency situation, any of the people who are sitting in the aircraft outboard near the window, getting over that backpack and all the straps in an emergency situation, not going to happen. People will be injured or worst case, whatever, right? So I want to make sure that bag is all the way under the seat. So I know if we turn that backpack east-west and then tuck it under, it's going to fit and be compliant. So I want to be attentive during compliance. I'm going to try to approach every aspect of compliance with a smile. Hi, would you please put your bag under? Not like bag under, you know, and no barking. But so I'm going to say things with a loving tone. But I want to be attentive to compliance. During cruising altitude, our lights are dim. Especially on a red eye, it's dark. People tend to cover themselves up with blankets. I ask people before we take off, if you're going to cover yourself up for a nap, please buckle your seatbelt over the blanket that's going to be covering you or the jacket or whatever, so I don't have to wake you up if there's turbulence and we have to make sure your seatbelt is fastened. So, you know, in a low light situation on a red eye, making sure that seatbelts are compliant takes a lot of attentiveness and a lot of observation, keen observation skills. One of my friends uses a flashlight and he goes up and down each aisle, each row, making sure that everyone's seatbelt is on. I think that's a little much, especially if people are sleeping, but he's being attentive and safe. What else did I write down? Oh, signs of potential medicals. You want to be attentive, especially at nighttime on a red eye when everyone's asleep and we in my airline, we do a walk through the aisle every 10 minutes. And you don't just walk through an aisle. At least I don't. I go through the aisle and I walk through and I try to look at every guest as I'm going through. I scan quickly for signs of someone in distress. All sorts of things could be happening in that cabin in the dim light. I don't know about every airline, we don't turn our lights off completely. And that's a good thing. We used to, but we don't dim our lights. We dim them, we don't turn them off completely. This will allow us and our guests to be aware and attentive of any potential problem, and it's 100% about safety. So you want to be attentive. Something horrible could be happening. A woman just gave birth. Actually, we had two. I think there were two births on our aircraft recently. One was just a few days ago. And we had a very junior staff, a junior flight crew, cabin crew. And they were super attentive. And we're blessed to have some incredible flight attendants. And they took care of the situation with giant success with a very small baby. So attentiveness can be something as someone might be having some heartburn, a heart attack, or having a baby. So you want to be attentive. Unusual sounds from the aircraft. So, most aircraft, the longer you fly, the more you'll understand what's happening to the aircraft while you're on board. You'll have an idea as to where you are in the different phases of flight by the sounds of the landing gear, you want to be attentive, listening for the signals that we have. Some airlines, Southwest, does 2 sets of ding ding for something. I don't know what it is. But every airline will have its own signs for communication. When I want to call the forward galley on the interphone, there's a series of lights and chimes that go off. So you want to make sure to listen, be able to recognize that little chime, ding ding, and reach for the phone, or know where to look at the different panels that are around the aircraft. But you want to listen for things that are unusual as well. Now, in the past few months, there's been an occasion on a red-eye where I'm walking through the aircraft and I would hear a very unusual noise. It's a noise I hear often enough, but I always hear it on the ground. I never hear it in the air. And so I was like, wow, that sounds weird. I asked one of my coworkers to come over and join me. Can you walk along this stretch of the aircraft and listen to see if you hear anything unusual? And they heard the same issue. So I called the captain, I called the flight deck and said, hey, I'm hearing this. It's been happening for this long. It happens in this interval and sounds just like this. And I'm hearing it when I'm over this seat, when I'm in this area. So if the flight crew, if this is a known issue, it's a known issue. If it's not a known issue, they know to sort of look for the problem. In this case, they understood what it was, and it was a known issue. But if it wasn't a known problem, it might be something that the flight deck really needs to know about. So it may only sound like a little weird, wah, 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 but this could be a big bad thing that the flight crew needs to hear about, but they wouldn't have if you weren't being attentive, right? All right, so something as simple as a trash run is, you have to be attentive. So if I'm walking to the aircraft just to go get something out of my bag, I'm not just walking to look for my bag. I'm spending the entire time while I walk down the aisle, I'm looking at guests, smiling, hi, how are you? How's it going? Right, little conversation, little nuggets. But I'm also looking at their tray tables. And I'll tell you, we may do a trash run, and then 3 minutes later, you'll look up, and there'll be empty cheese trays, and empty beer cans, and all drifts of trash will pop up out of nowhere. We will have just done a trash run, and you think, well, we don't have to do more for another 10 minutes. And I'm going to reach for something, and it's only been 2 or 3 minutes. And I'll tell you, the amount of trash that can present itself like this, it's crazy. And they'll have like Chick-fil-A bags tucked under their seats. So they'll just keep pulling crap out. So you really want to be attentive, because who as the passenger wants to sit in a crowded economy seat with a pile of trash sitting right in front of you? So be attentive. Something simple as walking through with a trash bag. Be attentive. And I'm not sure how long I've been talking. I'm sure I've been talking quite a bit. So attentiveness is paramount. It's just as important as communication on an aircraft, which is terribly important. So you want to be attentive. And to bring all of these little examples to one point, I wrote down something. If you're aware of your environment, you can act in the case of an emergency or an opportunity to shine. So be attentive. And in the attentiveness, you can be loving and present other aspects of customer service. I do, and I already wrote down some aspects of other examples of another aspect of customer service. And that's another one that's terribly important, and that's patience. So I wrote quite a bit here about patients, but I need to go to sleep because I have to be awake in like not even 7 hours, less than 7 hours for tomorrow's van time. So I will talk with you guys about patients soon. Now, I do want to give you a little heads up. I may not film another video for a week or so. Depends on how things go tomorrow. So, you know, if you've listened to a couple of my videos, you've probably heard me say that I've got some dental work coming up. So tomorrow we fly from Seattle, we're in Seattle to Las Vegas. It's a super short flight. I'll be back in Las Vegas by 8:30 in the morning. At 11:30, I have this dentist appointment, and they're going to be taking, you know, I overshare. And I don't know why I'm not embarrassed at telling you guys these things, but I have pretty bad teeth. They're going to be taking 4 teeth out tomorrow, and I'm going to be getting a new an appliance, sometimes called a denture, on my uppers, and a new one for my bottom, a new type of partial for my bottom. So it's going to be pretty, I'm going to be terrified and very scared and a little upset. And because the architecture of my mouth is going to change. So it's going to be a couple of days. I want to make sure that everything is healed. I've taken 5 days off after this so I can have time to heal and not have any anxiety over, you know, pressure and all that stuff. But it's going to be, the shape of the inside of my mouth will be a little different. So I'm hoping that I sound the same, but I do want to take a few days off to heal and also practice talking. What I'm probably going to do is do what I did the first time I got this partial, is sing along with Adele. I'll just put Adele on and I'll just start singing by myself and practice making noises. I'm really looking forward to my new bottom appliance, because this one is very whistly. My S's, if you can't tell, are pretty extreme. Very, So if you don't see me, I'm sorry, I keep talking about it. If you don't see me for a few days, 5 days, a week, it's primarily because I'm either uncomfortable or I'm just not comfortable talking with them yet, okay? So I'm gonna end this video here now that I've shared about attentiveness and overshared about my dental work, and I'll let you guys go. Have a good night and fly safe. Bye.